Welcome back, listeners, to this week's episode of the Black and Blue Soccer Show with Andrew and Joey. Joey, how was your week last week?
It's pretty good. You know, the family has a little cold, so that kind of sucked. Still having to get through days with 3 kids and being sick, that makes it a bit hard. But one thing that's pretty interesting is, I mentioned to you that John, my son, picked his favorite basketball player, which is Ja Morant. So we decided to start watching the Grizzlies. Well, of course, when we started to do that, they started losing. And it just so happens that every time I start following a sports team, they just like go to crap. So when I decided to start following Chelsea, they were coming off of a pretty good season. It was the 2018-2019 season, and that was with Sarri, and it was up and down, but finished strong. Won the Europa League. So I decided I'm going to follow them. Then come to find out, Hazard's leaving, and then Sarri's leaving, and it just didn't go well. Frank Lampard came in, and it was, I don't know, a little bit
Well, they won the Champions
rough.
League, and then they turned into a pumpkin.
Well, no, it was Frank Lampard had things going off, starting off pretty good, but it became very evident early on that he didn't really have any sort of plan. And we'll talk about that more when we get later on into our news segment. But then I also recently started following Valencia, and they look like crap. I started following Dortmund. They had been doing well, and literally as soon as I start watching them, they just start losing matches and leaking goals all over the place. So it's just a fun sporting world for me.
So, all the listeners, please recruit Joey to your rival, and then they will tank. I'm hoping he gets into Leeds. Uh, starts.
Never happening, never. Yeah, but anyway, how was the week for you?
My week wasn't too bad. I got asked to serve on the homeowner association. So if people, may not be familiar with what a homeowner association is here in the United States, usually you're in a neighborhood, and they're kind of like the government of the neighborhood. Some can be like dictatorship, and some can be democratic. Um, so yeah, I was recruited to serve on the um, security committee, I guess it's called. And I'm, just last week turned 40. I'm the youngest member on the HOA, so it should be fun.
So what are you gonna what are your responsibilities? Are you gonna have to like chase down people on golf carts and stuff?
Yeah, that's a damn good question. I suspect a lot of my responsibilities is going to be protecting the pools from teenage potheads, probably reporting people for speeding, making suggestions about, lights, installing better lighting systems, maybe, video monitors in the neighborhood. I'm assuming that's what it is, but I'm not entirely sure yet. There'll be legal things you can and can't do, but I'll be pushing those boundaries as much as I can. So thank God there's quite a few lawyers on the committee.
Ah, so you're gonna bring the dictatorship in.
Oh hell yeah, 100%. I don't have any kids. I don't care. Send them all to jail. Doesn't matter to me. Catch you speeding in a golf cart, off to jail. I mean, you're technically in Lexington County, where I live. Minors aren't allowed to drive golf carts, but they're like flying through this neighborhood all the time. So I handcuff them, put them away, and 30 days in jail will do them good.
Nice. So interesting story about golf carts. I was at a gas station one time, and this guy was filling up his truck, um, he had a trailer full of golf carts on it, and I was inside and I overheard somebody talking to this guy, and she's like, "Oh, you got a lot of golf carts on there," and the dude like turns to her, like dead serious look in his eyes, and was like, "Those aren't golf carts. Those are street legal vehicles." And everyone was like, "Whoa, what is going on?" And I don't know that I'll always remember that because it was just so weird.
It is no joke. You've been to my neighborhood, so you know it's it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but it's a nice neighborhood, and a lot of older people live here, and there are a lot of golf carts, and people will spend no joke up to like $20,000 on their golf cart, and you can make them street legal, at least in South Carolina. And we do have a gas station like right down the road. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could, install some turn signals and brake lights and, make sure it can reach a certain speed. So, but the big modification in our neighborhood, you could probably guess what it is, because the big modification in the South is lifted golf carts.
Oh.
God, I don't even know. Um, if I see truck nuts on a golf cart, I will just be like, okay, this is enough.
Wow. All right, so enough of the golf carts and stuff. Last week you had talked about a possible change of management for the loser of Everton and West Ham. Well, guess what, Andrew?
100% correct. So I think my predictions are looking good right now. So there's a few teams that probably don't want me to predict their transfer window, so I'll hold off on that for now. But yeah, Everton finally did sack Lampard, and as of this recording, looks to replace him with Sean Dyche.
Yeah, so of course, it was Monday that he was sacked after the 2-0 loss to West Ham. And under, I can't pronounce this dude's name right, Mashiri, I guess. He's the owner of Everton. Ever since he took over in 2016, this will be the seventh management change, which is, just awful. Everton
I mean, I'm a
lost
Chelsea fan.
Everton lost 11 of their last 14 matches, and Lampard's record in all competitions at Everton are 12 wins, 8 draws, 24 losses. And then, of course, you mentioned Sean Dyche expected to be announced. And, I have mixed feelings. Like, I don't think he's that talented as a manager, but I'll say I know that he'll definitely get the players playing hard, and he'll get them defending right. And I'm sure there's a lot of player, maybe not a lot, but I'm sure there will be some players that won't be up to his standards, and he will not hold back on dropping them from the squad.
Listeners, let's remind you this is the man that said Caicedo is not good enough from Chelsea. So Sean Dyche not being a talented manager, just keep that in the back of your mind for future reference.
Yeah, he'd be good as a prospect, like to rely on a few years down the road. But right now, no, we need someone like that can win us Champions League right now.
Yeah, but Sean Dyche is a good coach. I mean, he kept Burnley in the Premier League how long? He took them to Europe. I mean, he dealt with a shoestring budget. Like, I think he gets a lot of flack for things that, weren't under his control. It's not like he had oodles of money to spend. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true, and I'll say that if things get turned around a bit, Everton is definitely one to spend some money. So, like I said, if things get turned around, he'll get some resources.
they just needs to turn them around to 17th this year. That's all they need to do, and they'll be job done. And they're still battling FFP, but if he does get some money, we'll see. Because I again, I think he's unfairly labeled as a very defensive-minded coach. I think he played what he had to play at Burnley to keep them up, and in effect, keep his job. So he's kind of coming in on a clean slate, and you know basically like you can't do any worse, so have at it.
Yep. So right now, Everton's 19th in the table on 15 points. Doesn't look good for them. Um, hopefully, Dyche can turn them around. But if he doesn't and they get relegated, it'll be the first time since 1951 that they've been relegated. I think they might have the longest streak in the Premier League. I'm not
Arsenal.
positive. Arsenal.
Arsenal's
Okay.
longer.
Yeah. Still, that would be pretty historic if they get relegated.
Oh, it'd be financially tragic if they do get relegated because they got the new stadium coming up. They're already, under the microscope for, they're claiming their COVID losses. So we'll see. I would love to see Everton relegated. I'm not going to lie, but then I also don't want to see Sean Dyche fail. So I'm of two minds here at the moment. We'll see how it goes.
All right, another thing is real quick. We are obviously Americans, so there was a couple noteworthy items from the U.S. men's national team, or I guess the U.S. Soccer Federation in general. There were a couple departures where Ernie Stewart, he was the sporting director, he left, and then also Brian McBride had left a day or two earlier as well. McBride was the general manager. Honestly, with that, nobody really knows what McBride did. So, not really sure how that's going to play out or if he'll get replaced at all. Ernie Stewart obviously had a pretty important role as the sporting director, but it looks like they're pretty much going to clean house as far as all administrative staff for the soccer federation, which is a good thing considering all the scandal and everything that's going on. And that means that it's pointing to looking like Berhalter's going to be gone as manager. And who knows who we'll see next. There's been a lot of rumors floating around, but nothing concrete yet. I know you don't really follow the U.S. stuff very much. Is there anything you wanted to say or add?
Yeah, long overdue. Just from mediocrity standpoint, do you want to know the most recent name that's been linked to the U.S. The manager's job?
There's been a ton. I don't know
Just
anything.
take a guess.
The last one I saw was Mourinho.
No, this is more recent. This is like within the last hour
Oh
since we've been
no, I have no
recording.
idea. No.
Bielsa.
Oh geez. Okay. Bring us some murder ball, I guess.
Yeah, the interim coach Anthony Hudson actually went to um, visit him, so we could see some murder ball back in the United States. But honestly, they need to be more fit. I wouldn't pick him. I don't think his style would do great on in this country with our athletes, but definitely way higher profile than Berhalter and not American. So two positives.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'll say is that I hope they don't just pigeonhole themselves into wanting an American. There's plenty of talent out there around the world, and there's no reason to just limit yourself to the United States.
Yeah,
But
because we don't have much talent. So I
yeah,
mean, clearly when three of your best players are playing at Leeds United, I mean, geez.
three. Yeah, that we'll talk about more about that later too.
Just goes to show the lack of talent we have in the United States.
Yeah, um, yeah, that's it for the U.S. Soccer Federation. I know there is another thing that you wanted to talk about, though. I guess with some players trying to make moves on their own.
Yeah, so for this week's, we try to have one or two conversations each week. I figured this week a good one would be this window. We see to have a lot of players forcing moves. Uh, most, recently, publicly is Caicedo. We'll come back to him here in a second. But we've had it started off with the Brighton winger. Oh gosh, he went to Arsenal. Can't remember his
Trossard.
name. There you go. I'm I'm a Belgian national team fan. You think I would remember that? Yeah. So Trossard forced his move, right? Then Anthony Gordon forced his move to Newcastle. Enzo tried to force a move from Benfica to Chelsea, which, as of this recording, is somewhat still ongoing. And then again, Caicedo over the weekend, Friday night, Saturday morning. I'm not sure when it actually dropped. He penned a lovely, I think it was an Instagram post.
Yeah,
Uh,
and this is actually wild. I've never seen anything like this before.
yeah, he posted an Instagram post basically telling the owner like, "Hey, it would be an honor to make you so much money.
Yeah,
Sell me.
let
I
me
want to
just
go."
read through it real quick. All right, so again, this was posted on Instagram from his personal account. It starts with, I am grateful to Mr. Bloom and Brighton for giving me the chance to come to the Premier League, and I feel I have always done my best for them. I always play football with a smile and with heart. I am the youngest of 10 siblings from a poor upbringing in Santo Domingo in Ecuador. My dream, always, to be the most decorated player in the history of Ecuador. I am proud to be able to bring a record transfer fee for Brighton, which would allow them to reinvest it and help the club continue to be successful. The fans have taken me into their hearts, and they will always be in my heart, so I hope they can understand why I want to take this magnificent opportunity. All right, so first of all, there is no way that he just decided to do this all by himself, right?
He's 21 years old, so could be, but I doubt it. I'm sure when you're that good and that prolific, I would imagine his agent at least would have gone through his agent before posting.
Yeah, to me, this screams of an agent just trying to you know get in his ear and be like, I know how to get things done. Just pull on some heartstrings. Talk about your poor upbringing, and you know they'll be forced to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you signed the contract, so on one hand, you have only yourself to blame. So in one respect, you have to honor your contract. In another respect, I do understand soccer is a very short career in the scheme of these players' life, and their career can end at any moment due to injury. So they do have to get the money when they can get the money. I mean, the thing with Caicedo that's a little odd is he's you know he's at a team right now that is doing fairly well. It's not like he's so. If you take the Anthony Gordon situation, he was at Everton. Basically, the fans surrounded his car, harassed him, told him how bad he was, and he hadn't been playing, right? So that circumstance is a little different. Like you're at a bottom club, you're, I mean, whatever security they have up in Everton or lack of can't protect you from the fan base. I can understand you wanting to get out of that situation because
Thomas
who wants to
Partey.
go to work when people mob your car, especially when you don't play? Like, what are you going to do? Um, so I understand that situation. The Trossard situation was, again, Brighton, weird. Um, doing well. His contract was running out. So, that's usually when you make these power plays, is when your contract is running out. The Caicedo one is, mm, Mm, it's hard for me because I don't want to begrudge anyone from getting more money. Because if someone would say, Andrew, a headhunter calls me tomorrow and says, "Hey, Andrew, I'll pay you 100 times what you're making to do the same job." I would be an idiot not to take that job, right? So I'm sure, I don't know what his wages are, but I'm sure they're going to be significantly increased, right? In Arsenal. He's not moving to China or anything like that. So he's not just following the money. He's actually going to a legitimate team.
Yeah. So real quick on that, one thing to know about when he put this statement out is that it is not known what club he would be potentially going to. Right now, it looks like the two biggest takers for him would be Chelsea and Arsenal. And Arsenal, it looks like they're willing to pay him a good bit. The last I saw was they were going to offer him like 200K a week, which would be a massive increase for him. I think he was on like 35 or 40 a week on his current deal. But he put out that very strange message with not nobody knows like who the heck he would be going to. I don't know, strange.
So, and one last thing to note, interesting, the Athletic has reported that basically Brighton has told him, stay the hell away till February 1st. We're not signing you. I mean, we're not selling you, but you're also not going to be participating in anything, and you'll be coming back after February 1st and be ready for the second half of the season. So, you know, very interesting because they could definitely use him in their FA Cup game tomorrow. So, is this punishment for his Instagram? Are they secretly trying to sell him? I mean, do you have what do you think's going on, Joey?
Well, so I'll start off by saying that I support any individual worker, no matter if they're, you know, a McDonald's employee or an elite level athlete. I'll support them doing what is best for them. That being said, there are some situations where like this where I will be okay them doing, what they need to advance their career, but I won't like it. you know, this is one of those where I just do not like the whole optics around this thing. And I, I don't, if anybody has any negative feedback for him, I'm not going to, jump on them about it because it just rubs me the wrong way. But on the forcing or trying to force a move in general, I'm okay with it. Like Ben Chilwell did it when we got him. You mentioned Enzo Fernandez. He started to. He didn't do a couple trainings, and then basically the Benfica directorship shut it down. It was like, no, you're just not going. Like if the only way you would go is if they pay the full release clause up front, and then that was confirmed to not be on the table at all. And then he's like, I guess I'll have to put my heart back into Benfica again. So on the whole, I'm okay with players trying to do that, but I don't have to like it.
I mean, they can always put a transfer request in, but that doesn't also have to be honored. So it's kind of a unique situation because most of these guys sign 5-year contracts, and who knows where the teams will be in 5 years. And the majority of them are trying to climb the ladder, so they usually come from, let's just say Casado. He comes out of South America. He joined, you know, mid-table, Brighton team. He was loaned out, I believe, to a Belgian team, I believe, and then came back to play for Brighton. And since he's broken out, quotation marks, the contract he signed, when he joined Brighton back in 2021, he obviously is worth more money today. But if you're running a club, if you're Bloom, you got this guy on a good deal, and so and you're in an Europa League place, so of course you're not going to want to let him go. So it's a really tough decision. I mean, it's a situation. I think in the future there's got to be some sort of I don't know, release clause. I mean, they could put release clauses in, but there's got to be some way that players can get out without having to do this,
Yeah.
or you just sign the contract and you're like, you know what, it is what it is. Because the problem is financial fair play forces or encourages these 5-year contracts, right? For amortization purposes. And obviously, you guys have taken advantage of that and done 8-year contracts. So it forces these players into long contracts when in reality, Caicedo could have signed like a 2 or 3-year deal, right? I mean, he probably could have proposed it, but obviously, FFP is the longer your contract is, the better it is for the club buying you. That's just the way of life. So I think that needs to be looked into in the future. I mean, I get why it is like that, but I do kind of think some of the players get screwed because of that. Because again, you don't know where the club will be in 5 years. You hope you'll be better. So,
Well,
it's just
I have a question for that. You're talking about it could potentially be better for the player on like a 2-year contract because of situations like relegation and stuff like that, or financial constraints.
well, they
But
might have a clause for relegation.
well, yeah. So on that note, all the new Chelsea players that they looks like they will have a clause like that. But anyway, why would you think that it would be better for a player to sign like a 2-year deal rather than a longer deal and have more, you know, stability overall?
I think you give the player the choice. So let's say you bet on yourself. So if you bet on yourself and you sign a shorter term, then you have less time to prove it because the club can either, just not re-sign you, or you can get a better contract yourself. It's somewhat similar to what's gone on in the United States, and why there's the Players Association, and they have the collective bargaining agreements and things like that, and especially with the college football or the transfer portal. That is the worst implementation of letting players have the freedom, but you're letting kids have the freedom, and they're just getting taken advantage of because they can get paid and whatnot. So like, I'm not suggesting to go that liberal, like basically like, hey, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying I think the FFP amortization forces these guys into long contracts because it benefits the team. It doesn't necessarily benefit them. So if for example, and we're talking about Casado, let's just use Casado. He signs his contract in 2021. And let's just say he gets 20,000 a week, whatever, for 5 years, and then he comes back. He had a great year, and he's like, you know what, I deserve a raise. The club could say, well, you signed this contract, and we're paying you 20,000 a week because it benefits the club, right? Um, so then he can hold out. I saw recently. Um, oh, oh, gosh darn it. The goalkeeper, the Watford, Old England, Ben. I forget his name. Um, but he did admit that players do down tools to try to um, get moves and things like that. But uh, again, I think the players need a little bit more say, and I think FFP, and it's a whole bigger like discussion.
Hmm.
And I'd be interested to hear what people had to say about it, but I do think this is an unanticipated consequence of how FFP is set up, keeping players on longer contracts to ama- amateurize the high transfer fees, which then can potentially trap players that
Yeah.
don't want to be there.
So my only concern is if if shorter contracts are the norm, is that I would fear that it would just be too hostile on the players, where con- contracts would be running out all the time. Players would be having to flip flop from club to club just because you have all these short contracts. There would be I'd just be afraid that there's not enough stability for the players, and that's not really something I would like to see. Um, if there were some like way to give the players more of an option to switch under longer contracts, I think that would be the best way to go.
Yeah, I'm not saying get rid of 5-year contracts. I'm just saying I feel like these big name, if you have any decent amount of transfer fee, they're going to try to get you down for 5 years just so they could spread that cost over 5 years. It's strictly due to FFP. I just don't think for certain players, if I was advising them and they wanted to bet on themselves, you know, I would try not to be locked into a 5-year contract. Again, I'm not an agent. I don't know what the hell goes on in the background, but if a player really wants to bet on themselves, they could just sign a 2-year deal, um, do what they need to do, leave on a free, and then they can sign wherever they want. Um, then again, they might have less suitors. I mean, there are probably some clubs that would be maybe not sign them, or the club that they're at could re-sign them to a better deal. I mean, the club can always extend them at any time. The player signs a 2 or 3 year deal. They notice they're doing good. They're like, hey, you know what? Caicedo, come here. Like we're gonna rip up this contract. We gave it to you back when you were what 19, 20, and you're outperforming your contract. So let's start this again, and then deliver a better proposal. I mean, so that's always an option. I just again, I link it to FFP. Uh, it's just odd that we've had these high profile forces away this winter. I don't remember having this many in the past. Geez, what like half? In the and I don't know if we've ever had this many like in this succession. Uh, so I hate to see it become a tool in the player's toolkit when I think it can be solved other ways. Because it gets the fans against the player. Um, you know, it makes it a little harder to negotiate. It doesn't put, and then it doesn't put the selling club in a good position either because everyone knows the player doesn't want to be there. So their bargaining chip is lost. So I mean, even if Caicedo goes back to Brighton, I mean, he's shown his hand, right? So they're not going to get the best price for him. Now, Brighton may continue to try to get the best price for him, but he could say, you know what? I'm just going to start, maybe I won't train as hard. It depends on the personality and, the ethics of each player, but throughout history, there are players that do that, sort of thing.
I don't know. I I want the players to get what's best for them personally, and I don't want to do anything that would really hinder them from being able to do that. It's just that there are some things that I don't care for, and putting out such a weird statement like that is one of them for me. But I don't know. One
What
thing,
happens if Chelsea signs him?
then I will begrudgingly accept it.
Then his Instagram statement worked.
Not for me. No,
But your club benefited.
maybe. I don't know. Uh, that would be like probably a long term thing if there is a benefit. I don't know, because the money like for him right now, I think is just absurd. What, Brighton's wanting like 100 million right now. Uh, the I mean, I I don't want Chelsea
No,
paying
but
that.
I'm just saying in general, if it works, regardless if he goes to you or Arsenal, if the Instagram post works and he does force a move, then at the end of the day, it worked. So then this is a good tactic to potentially see other players follow in the future.
I mean, good for them, sure. I mean, like I said, I don't particularly like that specific tactic of like basically saying that a move's already done without it being done. I don't like that.
Yeah, so it could become just like the college football transfer portal over here. You stay a year, your team's not doing as great as you thought they were when you were recruited to play for them. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that's enough. I'm going in the portal. I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, like at least there's some structure to that, albeit it needs massive reformation of some sort. But at least there is something. Uh, but
Yeah.
more,
I mean,
yeah.
we could talk about this all day because it's very interesting and it has a trickle down effect. I think for a lot of things, like I said, financially, I mean, affects the selling team. The only people really benefiting are usually the buying team and the player. So again, we could talk about this all day, but if anyone has any thoughts, please, let us know your comments. You're always welcome to reach out to us, and we'd love to hear from you.
That's right. Don't come to Chelsea. All right, and we're back. Now, dear listener, I know it hasn't been too long since the last segment. I know nothing has really changed for you, but for us, there's been a heck of a lot that's gone on in the past 24 hours. Full transparency, we recorded the first segment yesterday, which would have been Saturday, and then today is Sunday evening, and there's been a bunch of different stuff going on, from crazy things like Wrexham tying with Sheffield to the move for Enzo to be back on for Chelsea. I need some more of that. All right, Andrew, just give us a quick rundown of the FA Cup scores.
The fourth round got started on Friday with Nathan Ake leading Man City over Arsenal 1-0. Iheanacho led Leicester City 1-0 over Walsall. Leeds United waffle stomped Ackerson Stanley 3-1. Then we had Southampton over Blackpool 2-1. And then Fulham and Sunderland are going into a replay. I know all the Newcastle fans will be enjoying that. It'll actually be at the Stadium of Light. And then Tottenham destroyed Preston 3-0. Manchester United beat Reading 3-1. This game had a red card for Andy Carroll on Casemiro. Fortunately, Casemiro escaped injury apparently. And then in today's games, we had Brighton over Liverpool 2-1 due to an extra time goal from Mitoma. And then we also want to mention, as Joey said, the Wrexham Sheffield United game was a very interesting game. The pitch was dog shit. The officiating was not too far off of that. Wrexham looked like they won with a goal from Mullen in the 86th minute, only for John Egan to level in extra time. So there will be a replay of this match at Bramall Lane in, let's see, it looks like it's going to be either February 7th or 8th for Americans following Wrexham. And one last Premier League game is played tomorrow with Derby County at home to West Ham.
Yeah, so that Wrexham match was awesome. You know,
It was Yeah, it was good to watch, but their officiating was horrible. The field
yeah,
was horrible.
the
Um,
the pride that the Wrexham players show is just undeniable. It's really fun to watch.
yeah, it sucks that Rob McElhenney was at the Eagles game and not the Wrexham game. And he always complains on the TV show that Ryan is getting all the publicity.
Yeah, well, I will say it was pretty cool because ESPN did a like a live feed with Rob at the tailgate for the Eagles match, and you know, they were talking about Wrexham, so that was pretty cool to see. You know, Wrexham get mentioned on the main ESPN feed like that.
Yeah, it's just too bad that they couldn't handle two set pieces. Really, they missed a penalty they could have had. Blatant handball. I don't even know how the ref missed it, but it didn't matter. I think I don't remember the guy's name. The tall. I think his first name's Ollie. Ended up scoring anyway. Or no, it ended up hitting off the crossbar. He thought he scored. It
Yeah,
was
that
such
was
a good
brutal.
strike. He thought he scored, and but there should have been a handball up to that, so it should have actually been a penalty. And the red card, at least here in the United States, they never did show the kick out that supposedly happened. It was actually an interesting part in the game when the fourth official called over the referee to discuss it, and they ended up sending off the Sheffield United player. Since it was a National League stadium, there's obviously no VAR, and the cameras there were just not great, so it never really picked up. The incident we saw was clearly not red card worthy, but the announcer said, whatever happened before the replays we were being shown on ESPN.
Now let's transition into the transfers, some rumors and some completed transfers. All right, so we'll be right back. All right, so we're back to discuss some transfers, news, and rumors. I want to get a couple out of the way because we won't really talk about them that much. Just want to mention that Danjuma was hijacked from his move to Everton by Tottenham. Of course, you know, Danjuma saw that Lampard got sacked and it looked like a train wreck there. So Tottenham swooped in and took that away. Klopp today confirmed that there will be no more further signings for Liverpool, even though they really need help. You know, their ownership there is going through some stuff, and you know, maybe they'll get some more in the summer, or maybe they'll have completely new ownership by then. Never know. And then one thing that I personally wanted to mention, that probably nobody here is going to be paying attention to, is that there's a kid from the MLS from FC Cincinnati. His name is Brenner, a Brazilian. Nottingham Forest is actually in for him, and that would be, you know, pretty cool for MLS to have another guy go over to the Premier League. Um, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about this guy, but also interesting that Nottingham Forest, they're just signing everybody. Um, Insane. And then also mention Pedro Porro to Tottenham. That is done. And then the last one is going to be a little more high profile. And we had talked about it yesterday on the segment we recorded yesterday. Was Caicedo apparently will be going to Arsenal. I say will be because that's what everything is pointing to, but definitely not confirmed in at all. Or you know, Fabrizio Romano saying that Arsenal is still in, they'll still be trying, but they just had another proposal rejected like an hour or two ago. um so the Casado saga rolls on. Anything you want to mention about those?
Yeah, Joey, I'm surprised you didn't mention we have a new American in MLS.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Um,
about that one, McKinney.
I mean, it's easy to forget about because his career isn't hasn't taken off since he left Schalke.
Well,
He
I
went
mean,
to
come on, he went to Juventus.
Juventus.
Like they're like in dire straits right now.
Yeah, but he still hasn't. Again, he played well at Schalke in Germany. Then he got a move to Juventus. In my opinion, was a little early. And now, of course, we're talking about Weston McKennie going to Leeds America. So he's going to pair up with Aronson and Adams and Marsh. So
Yeah,
if you
so
are looking for a club to root for and you're an American,
do not choose them. Do not.
they may be relegated.
Yes.
So just put that out there. It's going to be tempting to pick them. Americans do not have a great track record in the Premier League. So, as Joey says, do not pick them. Also, do not pick Chelsea. They don't need any more, um, glory supporters.
We need some revenue coming in, so pick Chelsea, buy all the gear, buy all the kits, buy season tickets, become a member, you know, do everything for Chelsea. No, but seriously, for McKinney, I don't like that move at all. I think he's good enough to warrant a better club, and I am very concerned with the possibility of them getting relegated with three, starting American players and a very high profile coach. If that happens, the it'll look very bad for the U.S. men's national team. And I know you don't really care much about that, but I personally would be kind of devastated in a told you so type of mode. Um, but I did see a rumor. I don't know if this was confirmed. I did see a rumor that if oh, so we should mention also that this is a loan move for the winter January window, and it's an obligation to buy. However, if they get relegated, the obligation is void. So if they stay, it looks like the transfer would be completed. But again, I don't know if that was just speculation or if it was actually confirmed.
That'd be good work on the agent's part if that is true.
Yep. All right, now looks like Newcastle's actually, getting some stuff done. Finally, spreading some of that Saudi oil money around. Yeah, tell me about it.
Not enough, but yeah, before this window started, I thought we'd spend about $60 million. I did not expect 40 million in cash up front to go to Anthony Gordon. He's a very divisive player right now, amongst Everton fans and a good population of the Newcastle fans supporters. I personally like Anthony Gordon. We've talked in our little group. Yeah, I see him very similar to Mudryk without the flair. He's definitely a speed merchant on, though he does have an end product. He hits the target with amazing percentage, even though he doesn't necessarily score a lot of goals. You have to remember he's played under two coaches, Rafa Benitez and Frank Lampard, who aren't necessarily known for setting the world alight with their attacking prowess. So I like this move. I don't like it with 40 million cash down, because that kind of restricts other moves I think we could make in the future. I don't think he's going to walk into the starting lineup. That's not Hal's MO anyway. I think he will give Alan St. Maximin and even Almiron, challenges because he can play on the left or the right. He can actually also, Everton has deployed him as a center forward as well. So I don't see us doing that. I think we have better options, but again, it's nice to have a player that can play all three front positions.
Yeah, so what, a couple weeks back, or I guess maybe that was only a week back. Holy moly. Time is flying fast with all these transfer rumors and stuff. But there was the graphic put out by the Premier League about the league's fastest players of the season. Mudryk was number one, and then Gordon was on the list as well. And I had told you, do you remember what I said about that?
No.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, Newcastle, the best way to get a player on the this fastest list is to just buy one. And what do you know? You guys did. Now you guys have a nice, speedy guy just like us.
Well, to be fair to Isaac, he's not up to full speed. I think when by the end of the year, I think Alexander Isak will probably be also on that list as well.
Nice. All right. So who else did Newcastle
So,
deal?
you know, the other person we brought in was a young kid from West Ham, and he's been back and forth between their first team and their academy. His name is Harrison Ashby, a Scottish kid, 21 years old. There's not much out about him. His profile is very Trippier esque. Something to note, I think he's the first player under 6 foot we've purchased. I think he's only like 5'9, 5'10. So he's not a giant, but he is a apparently, great crosser of the ball and free kick taker. He is very defensive first and hardworking, down the right hand side. So this looks to be definitely um, a future move, kind of, you know, Trippier in waiting, if so to speak. So I like this move. The last few games, I feel like the longer the season goes on, I feel like both of our fullbacks, Burn and Trippier, they're kind of, you know, they're not as good as they were in the first half. And I mean, Trippier's 32. Burn offhand might is he 30? They're getting up there. So and they played like every game because we don't have options. Target's been injured with a heel injury, and for whatever reason, Manquillo just never comes in. So we didn't have options. So this is a good move. I like it. He's 21. He won't count to our 25-man roster. Neither will Anthony Gordon as well. He's under 21. So this is a good move to bolster our numbers. Um, so all in all, $3 million end up going back to West Ham. He would have been out of contract, so he would have been a free in the summer. However, if you like a player enough and they're on 6 months left, you have to buy them because once they go free, then it's feeding frenzy. So I applaud this move. I think it's good for us moving forward. And then to mention that we have two outgoings this week. One is out of nowhere, literally as we're recording, is just happening. The first one is Carl Darlow. We had way too many keepers anyway. We re-signed Karius, so Carl Darlow, and we have Gillespie. So we had to get rid of at least one, if not two. I mean, ideally we get rid of Gillespie as well, but there has to be a taker. So Carl Darlow is going to complete a move alone to Hull City. And then breaking now is John Joe Shelby is actually has an offer from Nottingham Forest. I think he'll be their 25th player. I believe it's for a permanent move for 2.5 years. And it seems to be he has gone to Eddie Howe and asked to be released for this move. Uh, Howe didn't stand in the way of Chris Wood, so I don't think he's going to stand in the way of John Joe Shelby. In one way, it's good. Shelby's one of our highest earners, and we'll get some money back because, we don't sell many players. So any players we sell is great for FFP. In another way, it leaves us thin in midfield. Although, me personally, knowing the age of Shelby, knowing the injury he had at the beginning of the year, I believe through overtraining he ended up have a grade 3 hamstring tear. He had surgery. He came back and not more than a game or two injured right again. So I think as you get older, these muscle injuries, especially when you get surgery, the muscle's never as strong as it was before. So for us, I think it's a good move. He was out of contract in the summer unless he played two more games. I believe if he played two more games, he would trigger a 1 year extension. So for us, it's kind of a godsend, luckiness. So I'm in favor of this move. Whether we replace him or not, I don't know. Some people are telling me we're looking at Alvarez from Ajax, which I don't believe right now. And obviously James Madison will not go away. He's been linked with us throughout the entirety of the window. Um, the reason why I'm skeptical for Madison and Alvarez are both teams, Leicester need Madison potentially to stay up. So it's worth more to Leicester to keep him. And Ajax are not doing great. They're not in a European spot right now. So I'm not sure that they would sell Alvarez. Again, if they lose Alvarez, chances of them getting, moving up the table into European spot decreases. And they just, fired their manager. So we'll see. I think Joey, I actually think Connor Gallagher with a loan to buy could be an option that Newcastle would explore. Do you think Chelsea would entertain this offer?
Yeah, oh yeah. We would probably like fly him there. We'd pay for his medical. We'd probably pay to have him like physically moved there. Um, you know, we desperately need people off the books, so that would definitely be a possibility.
And due to my cheapness, my Newcastle fans call me Ashley Jr. Um, how much do you think, bottom line with the sell, if we do a loan to buy, how much do you think he would go for it, when we had to pony up the money in the summer?
Yeah, so that one's kind of hard to gauge because he, is an academy product. For us, he would almost be completely like free money. So I would assume that it wouldn't be as expensive as like let's say we tried to sell like Flip Mudrick or something. Obviously, like a talent difference there, but we wouldn't be looking to gouge people as much. Um, if I had to put a ballpark on it, like 20 million. I don't think personally, I don't think he's worth that much, but they're in it to make money.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm not a Gallagher fan. I think he's a little bit reckless, you know, and undisciplined. Though, if we get him, that's another young English, prospect for us, and that seems to be something they're building on in the winter. So it wouldn't be my pick, but how does, going back to his first winter transfer, we almost always get English players with Premier League experience. Bruno Gomes is the exception from Lyon last year. So I don't know if we're going to go outside of England into the European market in the winter. But that remains to be seen. It's going to be a hectic 2 days for Newcastle. I'll be on Twitter refreshing and, hoping something happens. But it's possible nothing happens and we're done. But they're not going to come out and say it like Klopp. So.
All right, and moving on to the big bad Chelsea. It's really funny because there's been a lot of fans of other clubs just blowing up over this whole stuff. Um, this, I saw this one. It was actually a City fan put a petition on Change.org to for UEFA to investigate Chelsea for spending money, crazy accounting stuff if they end up buying Enzo Fernandez. And oh, I just love it. Like feed me the tears, all the tears. Open up the salt mines, just keep it going. um, and then there's this one tweet from this dude's name is Saeed TV. He says Chelsea are literally rinsing the market, knowing they're not getting Champions League football this season. I'm effing hating this. There's going to be scraps in the summer. Like, yes, just feed me all of that energy. I'll take it and run with it. Ah,
If
fuels
anything,
me.
you guys are strengthening to try to get European football. So,
Right? Yeah, I know. But so that brings up a good point. Is us making all these moves. There was, I know I sent this to you earlier. Chelsea have now signed a full 11 players since last summer. All of them are under 24 years old, and all are contracted out to 2028 plus. It's, and these players aren't just scrubs. These are all very well respected prospects, and the future is bright. Chelsea finally has a long term vision, and they are enacting the plan immediately, and I love it. All right, to get on to our actual signing, was Malo Gusto from Lyon. He's a right back. Will be playing alongside or behind Reece James. The question is, why would he come when he's going to be playing behind the best right back in the world? Well, the big thing would be for Chelsea is that the timing is just right. We have a lot of money to spend. We want to go ahead and do it now while we still can get the couple extra years out of the financial fair play amortization stuff, amortization, however you pronounce it. And then, of course, it just gets ahead of other clubs that would be in for him in the summer. This guy is touted as one of, if not the best, under 20 right back in Europe. And, just looks great. He's a French under 21 international. Some really quick notes on him. He's great at crossing, ninth in Ligue 1 for passing into the penalty area, first in all of Europe with crosses into the penalty area. His passing and overall offensive stats are through the roof. They're all high 80s, mid 90s in percentile of other right backs. Um, Looks great, nice and fast. He's young, so definitely has some opportunities to improve with decision making, especially. But I'm for it. I do hope that he doesn't get burnt out, waiting for his opportunity with Reece James ahead of him. But Reece James gets injured so often, and
yeah,
uh,
I was gonna say, like you were talking about best in the world. You don't have the best medical department in the world, so this could
yeah,
be a very, very good move for this young kid. And it is someone that has been on Newcastle's radar for since the summer. There's a few other right backs that were on their radar that we have apparently lost out on. That's kind of why we went back to Ashby. But yeah, he's a great talent. The good thing is Leon are usually open for business. So kind of disappointed you guys got him, but no, yeah, it's a good signing.
yep. All right, and then of course the race for Enzo Fernandez is back on, baby. Come on, Papa Boehly, fly over to Lisbon and get it done. Show what is his Rui, what's the dude's name of Benfica? Rui Costa or something. Egbali and Boehly fly over there, put your foot in him, and
Are you sure you want him flying over there? Because he flew over to Barcelona and then immediately Rafinha signed for Barcelona. So maybe you want to keep him like out of the conversation.
nah, no, they know what they're doing. They're willing to drop the hammer and pay the clause if they need to. That's been in their back pocket all along. I can't wait. Obviously we don't want to do that. They're really trying to meet the 120 million that they want and just pay it in a structured deal. Um, but I have full faith that Bowley and company will get it done however they need to.
Well, money talks, but then also don't insult them. That's all I have to say. Uh, take into account their culture and stuff. They played. You guys did good with Shakhtar. They're notorious hard to deal with. Though you did end up giving them, almost what they were asking for. So um, we'll see. If you get that deal done. Is it true that with taxes and fees, it's going to end up being over 120 million?
Yeah, so for the specifically for the release clause, yes, it would end up being like around 160, and that's not great, but if you're looking at the talent that he would be bringing in, immediately, it's worth it. Like, the dude fills like three roles by himself, and get him now while you can, because in the summer competition's going to heat up. The dude's uh been looked at by every top club in the world. I can't say that I've seen Newcastle looking at him, but like I
Oh
said,
hell no,
every
we're
top
not paying
club,
that.
yeah, every top club in
We're
the
not
world.
paying that money. And I know you're trolling me right now by top club, even though, we'll just look at the table with that. But yeah, I mean, could this guy be the first and maybe only 10-year footballer contract?
Could be, of course, it could be. I honestly, I don't think so. They're probably going to look around another 7, 8 year deal. Um, I mean, I wouldn't mind signing him for 10 years, put him into his
No, if you
30s.
have to do the release clause and it will cost 160, do you think that it will um, cause the years to go up? I mean, because after this year, obviously it's been documented that 5 years is gonna be max. So why not? If you get him on a good salary and he is everything you say he is, just lock him up for his career, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down with that. Just going by what they've done so far, it doesn't look like that's something that they would do. But heck, go ahead and go ahead and pay him 500K a week. I don't care. Just get him here, dang it.
Oh, Jesus, 500K a week. You did God, we've talked about this, I don't think we talked about it on the show, but offline, like FFP is also like moving like wages to revenue and 500K a week. Jesus. You'll be playing with your academy out there in one guy.
See, it's not my job to figure out it. I just say what I want done, and they'll do it.
Yeah, you're just a fan. You want everything,
That's
and
right.
it's not your money, so who the hell cares?
Yep. We'll go play down with Wrexham. How about that?
Uh,
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for Chelsea. There have been some couple little academy guys being loaned out and stuff, but honestly, not worth talking about.
yeah, those peons, they're never gonna play for Chelsea anyway. As their academy gets dismantled slowly. Um, yeah, we'll see what happens, but it's been an exciting transfer window. Everyone trying to force a move, big money being spent, most money being spent in the winter, thanks to, in large part, to Joey's team, ruining it for everyone else. Completely dwarfing the other European leagues. They just can't compete. It's pretty sad, but is what it is. Again, money talks, and the best one to come and get paid.
All right, Andrew, take us home.
Well, thank you all for listening for this week. Certainly next week we'll recap any final transfers that do occur. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, insults, please email them to blackandbluesoccer@gmail.com. You may also see Joey trolling on Twitter at blackbluesoccer. Sometimes it's me trolling, but mostly Joey. So Leeds fans, don't get mad at me, though I do agree, but I'm not the one trolling you.
That was fun. I had some fun with that. That was good.
So yeah, so we're interested in your feedback and comments, and any questions you do have for us. We'll answer on the air. It can be about Premier League football, Newcastle, Chelsea. It can also be about the American perception of football, I guess I would say.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Black and Blue Soccer Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Good enough.